Greetings, one and all. I'm Kerrik52. And that showdown with Pregs left me in a bad spot at 17 health. But if I play my cards right, I won't be hit by anything else remaining in the game. No promises though. So, by defeating him, we earned ourselves a key. There we go. So here's the dance hall, which I actually could have accessed beforehand, and here is another record as well. But it's kind of a trap in multiple ways, actually. Let me actually take the long way around here, and I'll show you what I mean. Drop that too. Out of all of the death traps... Oh yeah, we'll need this one as well. Out of all of the death traps in the game, this is probably my least favorite, because it's kind of... accidentally mean? So, welcome to the garden courtyard kind of room. This place is very innocuous looking. And as you can see here, I can actually walk into the ballroom. And you're probably thinking, well, what's wrong with going into the ballroom? Well, first of all, more spooky ghosties of a orbular nature. Still not sure if it is an explicit reference to Yog-Sothoth, but they've done their homework, so I'd believe it. Now, what sucks is what happens when you actually loot the place. So if I just go here, we can find some arrows. And then there are spiders. And if you run in here, the spiders will follow you a little bit. And if you haven't beaten Pregs and unlocked the back entrance here, you can very, very easily get stuck, because these spiders are just killers. As you can see, they are the worst. Reminder, this is a man who can fistfight zombies. So what do? Well, you save scum. What you're supposed to do is to pretend that the door to the ballroom doesn't exist. And instead, just grab the arrows, and then leave. And then this room doesn't exist anymore. I would have much preferred it if the ballroom door was just locked permanently, because I think... is it this one? Yeah, I think even with the key, this one is still also locked. And it just feels kind of sloppy compared to everything else in the game. But we made it through, so let me take the fun way around here, or... Nah. Best to play it safe, I only have so much health. This is also our last chance to take a look around the mansion, because after this episode we are done in here. One more save. So, remember this bow I picked up at the start of the game? I can finally use it. In a duel. Well, that didn't work. Ta-da! Evil painting defeated. And no, you can't get a good look at it while you're firing. But we can get a good look at this. Not sure what... Would this be the underground city? Or one of them in Lovecraft? I forget. Is it, Really? No, wait. Relia? I think they actually pronounce it in a note we're about to pick up. That's somewhere around here. So I'm not sure if you can even use this to fight. I would assume it deals some kind of damage, but I'm not interested in finding out. Come on. Ugh. I'll take a book, though. And check out this conspicuous grandfather clock. Haven't really pushed anything so far. Kind of an underused verb. Key in a parchment. Excellent. Guess I'll just put it out here. Here, friend. There you go. First, this book. It's a fake. You know what that means?
The Creatures of Night by Hubertus the Bald. Translated from Latin by his brother in prayer, Fratre Johann Marcus.
I do so love me an enemy roster document.
Of monstrosity. You who read me know that night engenders monsters, and that night creatures exist. The accursed book of Abdul al-Hazred is clear on this matter. That is not dead which can eternal lie. Unhappy he who knows that book.
That will be us in just a couple of minutes, actually.
Unhappy he whose eyes alight upon that foulest of texts. Unhappy he who implores the standing stones, for he will free the powers of darkness. Of the pit. Stagnant waters are like the memory of men. Beneath the surface calm, clawed beasts await, and are known to initiates as the Deep Ones.
Always a fun bunch.
Awaiting his prey, the Deep One seizes him and drags him down to the abyss, where Dagon, the cruel god, swims and reveres him whose name may not be pronounced.
Cthulhu, I think.
Of libraries. Unhappy he who frees the prowler. Unhappy he who meets the prowler erring among the books. He generates the vagabond that comes from other spheres. He believes the vagabond does not exist.
I think we ran into the vagabond in the library before.
he will feel the embrace of death, for in the eyes of the vagabond, books are no more than dreams, stone no more than wind. The vagabond knows how to take the breath of the reckless. Of strife, he who speaks does not know, and believes he is able to kill the creatures of the night. Folly. Evil is conjured up by science and secrecy.
So here, the book reading thing is actually a bit glitched. So if I go to the next page...
He who prowls among books will perish by the blade. He who flies in the dark caverns will scream in fear. He who swims in the depths will evaporate. But he who believes he knows nothing. He who knows says nothing. Of death. There are domains more terrible than death. That is not dead which can eternal lie. Each creature is conjured up and is not dead, but returns to the origins. A monster, a science. Steel kills the vagabond who never dies.
So I find it interesting that they talk about creatures who are conjured up and return to their origins, because I believe that is actually how you deal with the undead pirates in the second game, if I remember correctly. So, nice piece of foreshadowing.
Translator's note. Here ends the manuscript of Hubertus, who died in the library of the convent of Teruella in the year of our Lord 1666. Requiescat in pace.
I don't think I've ever heard that pronounced. Now then, time to conquer this library. So we have a fake book, and if you remember, there was a mechanism in here as well. And speaking of mechanisms... Hey, pal. Here's the correct way of exploring the library. You put down the lamp there. And then you have free reign until the oil runs out. Haha! Secrets. We're gonna need that for later. But for now... Dagger. 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 Parchment, parchment, book, book. Alright, tons of stuff.
The Sacrificial Dagger, Otto Stern, Lumina Books.
The importance placed on ritual sacrifice is constant in religious cult practice. Propitiating the gods is a theme common to many religions. The Old Testament affords many examples. Primitive polytheistic belief systems integrate sacrifice in their rituals as part of the recurrent process of reaffirmation and, naturally enough, group cohesion.
Nasty practice.
The members of their social and religious community come together in an act of purification and atonement. It would be erroneous to imagine the act of human sacrifice linking priest, offering, and God, C.F. Manzetti, stone cults, as anything less than a vital focusing of the group's faith. The act also ensures the continuing appeasement of the god, but only if practiced by a recognized officiating priest using the appropriate instrument.
Right, you can't just clubber someone with a mallet and call it a day.
Studies made concerning primitive religious groups bear witness to the central role of sacrifice in living ritual. My own work in the field of ethnopsychology brought me into contact with a sorcerer living in the region of Arkham.
Excuse me?
He introduced me to the rite of steel, linked to a ceremony known as adoring the black goat of the woods with 1,000 youngs. The god being adored is known as the vagabond. Here, the dagger's role, which allows the life breath to pass from one dimension to another, is essential. The vagabond is a frightening figure, being able to move where he wants and to kill those who have displeased the goat god, for whom he acts as a go-between. The goat is clearly a fertility god. The priest, having spoken the invocation, must choose the appropriate dagger for the sacrifice.
Now we're getting somewhere.
The knife with a sinusoidal blade that must be dipped 7 times, on night when the moon is full, in water that has been distilled 100 times, will be laid aside, since it would send the vagabond back into his own dimension. See illustration.
You know what? I think I just picked that up.
The priest will rather choose the dagger with a curved blade. That is more appropriate for slitting of the lamb's throat. This act transfigures the sorcerer priest and plunges the assembled worshippers into a divine trance.
It is kind of funny how they talk about the extensive process of preparing the knife you're not supposed to use. Oh well. So not this one. Or the kitchen knife. Alright, buddy. Come and get some. Let's get a good camera angle on this. Because you don't banish a representative of the black goat of the woods every day of the week. Alright. And then... poof! Gone. Problem solved. But I'm on the hunt for more problems, so let's check this side of the library. There it is. A very special book. Time to get reading. Let's start with the other parchment, I think.
The Book of Yael, Signs of Stone, Eucharistic Rituals of Forbidden Cults. Texts collated by Monsignor Vacher, legate in the Curia of the Vatican.
Numerous devilish cults speak of monstrous creatures called the Old Ones. These supernatural beings are believed to be possessed of powers equivalent to those of the gods of antique religions. Adepts of such cults refer to forbidden literature in order to cause these frightful entities to appear before them. What serious student of folk myths has not come across the names of Cthulhu and Shub-Niggurath?
Those are the fun ones.
It must be said that these creatures wield tremendous power and are difficult to control once they have been unleashed into the world. Those who serve He who goes in shadows protect themselves with signs of stone, carved into the walls of houses or engraved on various objects. For those misguided servants of evil, the best protection appears to be that afforded by the sign of the most ancient gods, engraved in Manar stone, a heavy material said to be disagreeable to the touch.
Well, we do have that already.
The sinful practices of those who fall into such errors can only lead to the darkest of despair, and are a mortal danger to the soul. Such monsters as those invoked by these foolhardy individuals are engendered when reason drops its guard. Man is easily tempted into perversion. It is why we must forever remain alert and renounce Satan with each breath we take. His ways are infinite in number.
That blasted old Satan and his ways. But we have more books here.
Juan Luis Jorge, de Bibliotheca, Reflections on the Power of the Verb in Certain Texts. Archaeos Publications, 1919, Stafford.
This is actually a really important one.
Translation does not alter the occult power contained within such forbidden texts. The malevolent energy is in no way diminished. The spell must be cast aloud and clearly, in certain languages or little-known dialects. Maglafar Fathang.
I'm glad I don't have to try and pronounce the Cthulhu words.
The reader will understand that, in the light of these revelations, I would be foolhardy to continue quoting from the text I have before me. If spoken aloud in its entirety, it would surely awaken powerful and malignant forces. I will go further and say that simple reading of some of the more technical passages describing specific practices is in itself a perilous exercise. The ill-prepared reader can easily fall prey to attacks of demented hysteria, not unlike those described in cases of individuals said to be possessed by evil spirits. I recommend the study made by Zempf, Urbain, Grandier, and Loudon, and the reports made by the Reverend Richard Price concerning a number of astonishing, to say the least, exorcisms carried out in a parish near Providence.
Providence, you say?
Given what I have written, we must be grateful to the librarians of the British Museum, who have never allowed consultation of the work of Al-Azif's startling work, the infamous Necronomicon.
Ah, but that's the fun one!
Copies of that work do exist, in spite of the zeal of book-burning inquisitors. For proof, we need look no further than the British Museum, of course, and the sealed archives of the Miskatonic University in Arkham. Other examples of books whose evil can be unleashed by any thoughtless reader are von Jutz's von Unersprechlichen Kulten and the abominable the vermis Mysteris by Ludwig Prien, whose sordid death should be a lesson to all those tempted by a study of the occult.
So the game is pretty serious about warning you about reading these forbidden texts. I happen to have 2 of them in my inventory right now. These 2. But there is a trick to it. A lot of inventory around here. There we go. If you remember, the journal from before talked about a protective sign. This is that sign. As long as I stand on this, we can read these forbidden texts. I'm still going to save though.
Ludwig Prien. De vermis Mysteris. Nomine invocatoris si non sanctificatus es cave. De vermis Mysteriis non absolvo folem legendum fatum et eum versus. Tibi magnum innominandum signa stellarum nigrarum et.
So that didn't tell us much. Let's see if I can find a translation and completely break away from the message of the game.
Ludwig nomine invocatoris si non.
It was diver. Oh! Oh, never mind, we're not safe at all! Oh! So much for the protection against the occult. Good thing I saved. Maybe I wasn't, like, standing on it. Okay, so, just for funsies, this should be the translation. In the name of the summoner, if you are not sanctified, beware. I do not permit fools to read the mysteries of the worm and its verses. To you, the great nameless sign of the black stars, and dead. Let's try that again.
Nomine
Much better. Now for the other one.
Fragments of the Book of Abdul.
In the antique city of dead Relia, Cthulhu dreams and waits. In the pit of time, the unspeakable lies in wait. That is not dead which can eternal lie. Relia, your blocks of stone seal the ritual that gives birth to fear. Cthulhu Fatang! Cthulhu Fatang! Ayah! Ayah!
Glad to see him so enthusiastic. Also, as I mentioned before, with Lovecraft, since, you know, it's a literary work, I haven't really thought about how you pronounce Relia. I was thinking Relia. That's just me, though.
Let he who knows how to invoke the stones act. It is time. Let the shadow of Cthulhu darken the sky. May the servitor of the black goat of the woods with 1,000 youngs sound his flute in honor of the unspeakable. Cthulhu Fatang! Cthulhu Fatang! Ayah! Ayah! May he who may not be named cast his withering gaze upon the unbeliever, for he is the door, the key, and the guardian of the door, and holds you now in his immense power.
Fun fact, for the CD release, they actually cut the last paragraph here, which I find to be a bit interesting. May madness strike down he who reads and thinks he understands. Nobody can pierce the mystery and not pay the price. Nobody can contemplate the face of gods with impunity. If strength abandons he who reads me, then may madness overcome him. Not sure why they needed to cut that. So the other book just broke our spine. What does this one do? Show us what you got, Necronomicon.
In may he...
Oh no, oh no. Oh god, no. Okay. Only 5 hit points, that wasn't so bad. More funny than anything, really. But we have everything we came for. Came for here. Leave this for someone else to find and have fun with. Inventory looking mighty lean. Right. I think I want to spend that key. And then we're done here, more or less. Been a fun bout of exploration. I like this place. Though again, it could be a bit bigger. Though perhaps later entries in this genre have spoiled me. What tasty things do we have in the study? Record in the book.
The Tale of Captain J.W. Norton of the Army of the Union.
1862. The South was in collapse. Louisiana was open to us. I had each day to requisition victuals for our troops, and was aided in this endeavor by a score of brave men. Rebels were not yet ready to lay down their arms. The region was far from safe. I headed further and further west, and questioned many freed slaves. From them, I learned of a plantation on the coast. Its name was Derceto. We received a less than hearty welcome. Only Pickford, the owner, behaved in a friendly manner. While my men counted cattle and grain reserves, I learned what I could from him. Man was most unusual and possessed an extraordinarily cultured mind. At nightfall, I gave orders for the men to bivouac at Derceto. Pickford invited my second-in-command, Lieutenant Patterson, and myself to dine.
Can't say I've ever heard the name bivouac before. It sounds fake. Very fun to say, though. Bivouac.
And our host proved a most entertaining conversationalist. While coffee was being served, Patterson went to inspect the men's camp. The cigar Pickford offered me was so acrid that my head began to spin.
Is this the explanation for why the cigar in the other room deals 5 damage per puff to you?
I remembered campfire tales of fellow officers trapped by devilish Confederate tricks. My mind floated in a foul and dense fog, from which emerged the enlarged and deformed face of Pickford. He grinned at me. Patterson's return chased off the nightmare. I heard shouts and firing from outside and found the strength to take out my revolver. I fired 3 shots. Pickford fell to the floor. Patterson then helped me out of the burning house. The air was filled with smoke. We resembled a company in disorderly retreat. I saw slaves leaping into the flames of that inferno. They were trying to save Pickford's life.
Interesting. We will need one more document to really get the full picture here. But for now, let's go deal with these ghosts. Yet another place to save scum? I might have actually spelled that wrong. You know what? We'll see. So the deal here is that only one of the songs is actually the correct one. It's this, if I remember right. But let's see what the other ones are, and see how the ghosts react. That's not exactly what I was after. Blue Danube. So something I thought about a bunch is that with how widespread classical music is in multiple works of media, just as, you know, free music to use, you never learn the names of them. But here you go. Blue Danube. Can't say I knew that before. But what we want is this one. The Dance of Death. And they're not kidding. This stuff is dangerous. Very dangerous. Let's try from this direction instead. Oh yeah, look at what that did to my frame rate. Success! And now the ghosts have been defeated, and I can turn this off, I think. Please? Maybe we're stuck like this. Dance of Death. Oh well, doesn't matter much. We're done here anyway. That was the last thing I needed. So all we've been doing is to get the key in here, and to get that extra key for later on. Now I just need to unlock the way. Ta-da! Here's the way to the caverns. And the end of the game. Until then, farewell.